All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-PA and pre-nursing meeting. My name is Kaitlyn Madden. I am the president of the pre-PA side, and tonight I am going to be giving a presentation about basically everything I know and that I have gathered about being a pre-PA and like how to get on the path of being a PA eventually. So I'm going to let the other officers introduce themselves since it is the first meeting of the semester.
Hi, you guys. My name is Keely Zierman. I am the president of the nursing side of the club. So if you ever have any questions about that, I'm your girl. So just shoot me an email whenever you need to. I am a major in applied nutrition and I'm actually a senior. So this is my last semester. And yeah, let me know if you guys need anything.
Hey guys, my name's Caroline. I am the secretary and the treasurer of the whole club. I am a nutrition science major and I am currently working as a medical scribe and a cardiology technologist at a nearby hospital. So if anybody has questions about either of those fields and getting patient care hours, you can feel free to email me. And also, I am still accepting the dues at my Venmo. It's just Caroline Berger 3, the dues for the club. If anybody wants to contribute, they're not required, but we do use them for some club things. Yeah, so if anybody needs to contact me, reach out. That's all. On to you, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex Johnson. I'm the vice president of the club. Oh, just so you all know, I put the attendance link in the group chat. So make sure you click on that so you get credit for attending today. But I am a senior, so I'm also graduating this spring and I'm majoring in biology and doing the IPN concentration. And my goal is to do PA school. I'm currently an EMT basic. If you have any questions on how to get certified as an EMT, here, I'll give you the link again. Yeah, feel free to reach out about the EMT basic. I also work as a habilitation technician, which doesn't require any certification. And that also counts for some direct patient care hours for PA school. And I'm also volunteering, using my EMT to volunteer as an intake triage, that volunteer at a clinic in Raleigh. So if any questions about any of that, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help.
All right, so I guess I kind of forgot to introduce myself as far as what I do. I was looking at the presentation before this, and so my mind got a little carried away with that, so I forgot. But anyway, I am currently a medical assistant at a cosmetology office, I guess. And so if anyone has questions about that, I'd be more than happy to help answer and guide you. Also, like Alex, I am a human or the IPN major for biology at NC State. So just for my presentation, before I show you everything, I hope you've gotten a chance to look at it. It's kind of like an information dump, like I said. So I'm not going to be reading off every point because it is a lot. I put everything into text just so that you can reference it later on. I think that would be more helpful, so that's why I did it. But it is like 50 slides long, so we're going to skip over some stuff probably, and then you can go back at your own leisure, and then hopefully at the end I can answer any questions that you have. All right, so I'll share my screen. All right, so everything you need to know about becoming a PA. So I'm going to go over a few topics. So we are going to look at, choosing the right career path. So by that, I mean like MD versus nurse versus PA, just the PA overview, how to go about being a PA, undergrad and pre-reqs tips, stuff like that, how to get your patient care hours, volunteering, shadowing, and then about the GRE. And then when it actually comes to applying to PA school itself, and then just additional information that I thought of. So this part I'm not actually going to go over, the nurse practitioner versus PA versus MD. This you can read about. I tried to make an informed model for you guys. It is 2 pages long. but hopefully it helps you out. So, the PA career path overview. What steps do I have to take to be a PA? So, you definitely need a bachelor's degree, and you can major in anything you want. They just want to see that you have good grades, like a good GPA, and good prereq classes for PA school. And I'll get into those classes later on. Then the other main requirement is that you have patient care hours. So since PA school is only 2 years, unlike med school, which is a lot longer, they require you to work with patients beforehand as opposed to in school. So typically schools will require at least 1,000 hours, some require at least 2,000 hours. I'll get into that later too. And then once you apply to PA school, um, well, I guess that's the final step, applying to PA school. And to do that, you might have to take the GRE and you apply through CASPA, and we'll get into all that good stuff too. So undergraduate degree and prereqs. So as I said, for the undergraduate degree, there's no official career path that you have to take. You can major in dance or something. It doesn't really matter. You just need a good GPA overall. So additionally, what they do is they have your main GPA, which should be at or about above a 3.4. And then they also take into account the science prereq GPA. So it's two separate GPAs that they look at. Both you should do well in, and they say that if you take a class and you end up getting a C or lower in it, you should retake it. All right, so my information is based off Campbell University. Every school is different. You will hear that like a million times. So you want to research in advance which schools you are thinking of applying to so you know exactly which classes to take. These are generally the same prereqs for every school, but there might be a slight variation. Like you might not have to take genetics or medical terminology. So each school will vary a little bit with that. So patient care hours. This is 1,000 hours that I was talking about. So what are they and how do I get them? So I kind of said this a little bit earlier. The main thing with the patient care hours is that you want to start as early as possible. This is one of the main things that PA schools will look at in addition to your GPA. So many people who are applying to PA school have already done other jobs. So by that I mean they got out of undergrad, they were working full time for years as something in the medical field and getting those hours. So you will be applying with people who have like 10,000 hours. Don't let it overwhelm you. You can still get into PA school even if you want to go directly in, but it is challenging. But so that's why I always say don't be afraid to take a gap year. When I was a freshman, I had in my head that I would do 4 years of undergrad and then go straight into PA school. Well, then I learned about the 1,000 hours, and I didn't have a car on campus, so I had no way of getting from campus to a job. So I was unable to do a lot of my hours for my first 2 years of college. So I had to become okay with the fact that I wouldn't go straight into undergrad. I mean, straight from undergrad into PA school. And now I'm okay with it. I am going to take a gap year to work. It's not something to be ashamed of. So many people do it. There are very few people who go straight into PA school, but it is possible, so don't let that discourage you. So here are some jobs. There are many more in which you can do, but some jobs that you can do to get your hours. CNA, that's what I was. I always recommend it because it's very, compared to the other jobs, the training that is required doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of time, and everyone's always in need of CNAs. So that's what I did. You can also be an EMT, which Alex is, so she can tell you about that. She was also the habilitation tech, and Caroline is the medical scribe. So they can answer your questions about that. And I am also a medical assistant, so I can answer your questions about that as well. So just to talk some more about hours. This I already did get into a little bit, just saying that some applicants have had jobs where they already gained a lot of hours. There are people coming in with like 20,000 hours. It's not something to discourage you. It's just something for you to be aware of. And also the main reason why you want to have hours is because you want experience. And when it comes time for interviews or writing your personal essay, which personal statement, which I'll get into later, you want to have experiences that you can build on and talk about and just enhance your experience as to why you chose to go to PA school. So volunteering. Volunteering is not always required. Again, you're going to have to check which PA school you're applying to and what their requirements are. But it's never looked down upon. So I always encourage volunteering, even if it's only like 20 hours, like total, that's okay. It can also make you stand out if you like. You can even volunteer at like a food bank. Like it doesn't have to be something medical. It's just to show that you are caring about different aspects of your life. You're trying to help people, kind of something like that. It just helps you stand out and it makes your application look good. So as far as shadowing, so shadowing during COVID is obviously very hard to obtain. I have not shadowed anyone aside from virtual, but shadowing PAs is essential. Most schools do require this, however, not every school does. The main reason for this is because if you want to be a PA, they want to see that you are trying to be a PA and that you understand what a PA's job is like. So some methods that I found to help people shadow is email everyone, send out your resume, just try to get some connection. For me, I was supposed to have a shadowing job last semester, but because of COVID, it didn't happen. But the only reason I got it was because I sent out like 30 or 40 emails to many different people. And I think it was one that happened to reply. So that's how I did it. One of my friends, she was volunteering at Duke Emergency Department Ambassador Program. So she got to volunteer, and then through that, she got to shadow because she made connections. So I also encourage volunteering and then getting an in and then shadowing that way. So some tips during shadowing. So you always want to ask questions. You don't want to be overwhelming because the providers are obviously there to help the patients, but you also want to show that you're intrigued in the material. And so you want them to have a good connection with you, and you want them to see that you're engaged and that you were the right choice to let them shadow you or let you shadow them. So obviously because of COVID, there aren't many opportunities available right now, but don't stress because obviously everyone else in the world is going through the same things. So don't pressure yourself. PA schools understand. In the meantime, I will let you know that, as I mentioned before, I've done many virtual shadowing opportunities. And every time I see one, I post it to our Instagram. I post it on the story so that you have an opportunity as well. For those shadowing opportunities, all that happens is they just have a Zoom link. So you might have to sign up in advance so that they can send you the Zoom link over email, but you just watch the presentation for like an hour or so, and then you're good to go.
Something I'll add to that, Kaitlyn,
Go for it.
about patient care hours during COVID is that I know some schools are like reducing the number of hours they're requiring for this upcoming application cycle and maybe in the future, or just saying that like you're not required to have any, which obviously I don't think is recommended and is like a great decision going into the PA field without having any of this patient care experience. But I know that some schools it's not required just because they know people can't get jobs right now and that sort of stuff.
Thank you for sharing that because I did not know that, so I appreciate that. The other thing I just wanted to say was with shadowing, it's not a bad idea to shadow other fields just so that you can see how they interact with PAs, and also you can make sure that PA is your perfect fit. When it goes on to interviews, which I'll talk about later, they're going to ask you about other fields. So if you have seen how other people interact with PAs and what their roles are in the healthcare field, then you can speak to why you chose the PA career path. So that's what I meant by get a well-rounded experience. All right, so the bottom line with all of that is that you want to do a job that makes you happy and means a lot to you. Don't feel like you have to have a cookie cutter mold to get into PA school. Everyone is different. You don't have to stress about going directly from undergrad into PA school. It's possible, but almost no one does it. And also don't feel bad if you apply the first time and you don't get in. It's hard. We're all in this together. I know how you feel. If you're stressed, you can feel free to contact me because I have been there. I was so stressed. So don't even worry about it. Okay. All right. So, standardized testing for entrance exams. All right. So, there are 2 entrance exams that you can take. Not every school requires this. So, again, common theme of the night, you have to check with each school and see what their requirements are. The GRE is obviously a standardized test, so you have to know if you're good at standardized tests or not. It's similar to the SAT. So, you know, there are free resources for the GRE, and I highly suggest using them. I haven't taken the GRE, so I cannot speak to how it works, but I have done research on it. So if you have any questions and want to email me, you're more than welcome to. The other thing that I have gathered is that you don't want to apply with anything lower than a 300 for a score. You want at least a 305 or a 310. So now the next test was new. It just came out this past year, so I don't know a whole lot about it. It's called the PA-CAT. It's basically like the MCAT, but for PA school. And it covers 9 subjects, and they're all science-based. It is a few hours long, and it's multiple choice. But it is projected that PA schools will shift over from the GRE to the PA-CAT. All right. So
I will say, just on the testing, like if testing is not your thing and that's kind of a deterrent for you, some people really like you can bank on like that minimum score. Like it's all a numbers game too. And I'm sure like Kaitlyn, you're probably going to get into that, so I won't too heavily. But I even have like a friend who got that bare minimum to even like be considered. But because her other things on her resume and such were so good, like she got in no problem because she was not good at standardized testing, but you know, it's not the entire thing that they're looking at. So yeah. Sorry.
no, I appreciate it. You're all good.
One other thing, Caitlin. I also have heard of a test called Casper. I don't know if you've looked into this, Caitlin, that some schools are now requiring. It's more of, instead of like a standardized like multiple choice, that sort of test, it's more of like a situational, like how would you respond to a problem sort of test. They say that like you can't really study for it. It's something that like, oh yeah, and somebody in the chat just said Wake Forest requires that. Yeah, I know some schools are beginning to require it. So that's just something to look into if you're
That's true.
planning to apply.
But I didn't put it on the slide. So you're right. Thank you for that. Yes, that is correct. So CASPER was an entrance exam test. Now I'm going to talk about CASBA, which is the actual application to PA school. All right. So CASPA is basically, not every school has this, but it's like the general application, basically how everyone applied to college. How there was like the general application. This is the general application for PA school. So while you're doing all of these other activities such as volunteering, shadowing, working, you want to keep a Google Sheet or some other format of all of the places and the hours and everything that you've done. Because on CASPA, you're going to have to input all that information onto the application. So if you keep a running tab and write a little blurb about each experience, I can show you mine if you want. You will be all set to transfer all of your past experience onto your CASPA. And it also helps a lot because, at least for me, I kind of forget things easily, like past things that I've done. If I've done like a bunch of things, I'm like, it's very easy for my brain to like forget about one experience. But if I have it written down, it's a lot easier when I have to go put it into my CASPA. So that's what I'll say about that. You want to start thinking about your personal statement, which if you don't know what that is, I'm going to get into it, so don't worry. And then you also want to think about asking your recommenders to write your letters of rec. So, personal statement. very fun. If you're like me, you don't like writing, and so I'm sorry you have to do this, but it is actually going to be very good. Don't worry. This is your chance to stand out. So, what it is it's a 5,000 character personal essay. So that means there is a word limit or a character limit. So everything that you say, you want to be direct and make it concise, and you want to show and not tell. So what this is basically they're going to ask you why PA school, and that's going to be it. It's very open ended, and you're just going to have to go off of it. Um, it's a very personalized essay. Obviously, it's called a personal statement, um, but it is one of the major things that they look at in your application. Um, the main thing that you want to make sure you do is you want to show people and not just directly tell them. There are many like errors that you could make, such as like, I want to go to PA school because I want to help people. Well, that's pretty easy to understand because everyone who applies to PA school wants to help people, if that makes sense. So you want to give them a reason why you stand out, and you want to tell them, pick me, and this is my reason. Um, how people have done it in the past is they start by writing a list of their experiences that have been very impactful in their life. So for me, as I told you before, I have a Google spreadsheet of the things that I've done. And in that spreadsheet, I have a little blurb or like a little experience right next to it. And then when I eventually go to write my personal statement, I can look back at those experiences and draw things from it. Okay. It's good to have your meaningful experiences be good things and bad experiences too. Um, I You can always turn the bad experiences into good ones, and you can make your essay about personal growth and how this experience changed you and how you want to change medicine and that kind of thing. It's very open ended, but um, yes. So that's all I'll say on that. Oh, the other thing. Okay. Oh, sorry. You can go, Keely.
I was just gonna touch on, I kind of wrote it into the chat, but sometimes I think that personal statements can be very daunting because we're not used to having to brag about ourselves. Like this is the one instance where you have to drive the point home of like how amazing you are. And normally, I don't know, our culture is like taught to kind of downplay it. But NC State actually has a writing center, and they have people, that's their entire job, is to sit down and review your writing with you. So I know that they still do meetings like over Zoom, and you can arrange a time. I mean, don't go there with a blank page, obviously, but like once you've written your paper, it's like really helpful to get feedback and to see where maybe you could revise this statement, or maybe you could make it a bit more clear. Here, like maybe you need to actually paint them a picture. And I think that the writing center is an overlooked resource. You don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's like in your tuition. So definitely look on it. And even like online, if you look up like NCSU Writing Center, they have like a PDF document that kind of summarizes like the kind of hot takes for a personal statement. I mean, they do other things too, like if you want your resume done and other things like that, or like cover letters, they do those too. But personal statements, I found them really helpful. So,
That's a great idea. One thing I will say about going to writing centers and stuff like that, you want to make sure, and I don't know if anyone was on the meeting before when I was talking to Caroline about this because she's applying and she was telling me about her personal essay. Um, but you want to make sure that you have the most impactful experiences written down first. You want the content to be there because if you go with a list of like 15 different experiences, they might choose something that wasn't as important to you, if that makes sense. So you want to figure out why exactly you want to be a PA, what has shaped you into wanting this career path, and then after you have that down, then you can ask people for like grammar help and structural help, stuff like that. But you want to make sure that it's why you want to go to PA school. And I think Keely made a very good point. You want to brag about yourself in this essay, because like I said, they're going to look at this and they're going to try to get a sense of who you are as a person. It's not just like a person on paper who gets straight A's. They're going to want to see why you want to be a PA and what has shaped you. And they're going to get a sense for how genuine and what kind of character you are. So, this is a very important piece of your application. I have attended Campbell University's personal statement workshop, so I can speak a lot on personal statements. If you have questions or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to answer. But like I said, make a list of experiences and then pick out what exactly is important to you. All right, so letters of recommendation. All right, so the CASPA accepts 3 to 5 letters of recommendation. You want to make sure that you ask someone who has seen you interact with patients, who practices medicine, and can speak well on your behalf. When you ask them, you can straight up say, do you think you would be a good candidate to write me a strong letter of recommendation? Because whoever you're asking will tell you directly if they think that they can speak well to your character or not. So some examples of this can be an employer, a PA that you shadow, or a professor, someone that you have been with and who knows you. You don't want to have 3 employers and you don't want to have 3 professors because they're all going to see the same side of you. You want different people who can speak to different aspects, like your work ethic. That would be good for an employer. Your study habits, that would be good for a professor. Things like that. I'm going to get into the timeline last because it is confusing, but you want to ask for letters of recommendation in December or January before you apply. The application for CASPA opens the end of April, if that helps too, just so you can get a little sense of time. So when you ask them, you want to, first of all, be polite, like ask if they will. If they agree, then you want to tell them why you are choosing to apply PA school. And then I would say include your resume, include things you've done, and then include your personal statement if you have it done, or just try to give them a sense of who you are and jog their memory a little bit. Because if it's like a teacher that you had, say, sophomore year of college and you're applying senior year, first of all, I would hope you keep in touch with them a little bit, just kind of like say, hey, how you doing? Just so that you can keep up a little relationship with them. But also in 2 years' time, they might not remember you quite as well. So you want to make sure that you're giving them all the materials necessary so that they can write you a good and strong letter. The other thing I'll recommend is that you give them an earlier due date. Just, it doesn't even have to be by that long, just by like a week or something, just so that they remember, and that you are not stressed about, oh my gosh, they haven't sent me this letter, I'm not going to get in, I'm not going to be able to apply right when CASPA opens. CASPA is rolling admissions typically. So the sooner you send in your application and like submit it, the sooner you'll know about PA school, typically. Yes. Okay. So PA schools, choosing where to apply, it's very daunting as well. The whole process is honestly very daunting. But I think there are like 324 schools or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I'm not exactly sure. But there are a lot. So 3 main things that I thought you could think of just to narrow it down. Location. If you're someone who's a homebody, knows that they want to stay in North Carolina, only look at PA schools in North Carolina. Don't look at a school in California. Choose a location with the people who you want to be close to you, because it's not set in stone that you're going to have to work exactly where you went to PA school, but there is a good chance that you will make a lot of connections wherever you go. So it might be easier to get a job around where you went to PA school. Some schools focus their curriculum on certain areas. So you might choose a school that has a certain specialty if that specialty aligns with yours. And then finally, the school's timeline. This I'll get into when I talk about the timeline, but some schools will have you submit their CASPA, um, and sorry, lost my train of thought. Some schools begin January after CASPA opens, and some don't start until a year after that. Every school's timeline is different. So just make sure that you're looking at everything and taking it all in. All right. Oh, so the other thing, I had the slide. So accreditation. So the accreditation means that the PA school meets professional standards for a program. Um, so you can have an accreditation, you can be provisional, and then you can be, yeah, I think it's just those two. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but it's whether they've met the standards for stuff like the curriculum, having students enough, like having enough students pass, um, and stuff like that. So for me, I'm only going to look at schools that are accredited because I don't want to take that chance that the school, while I'm in it, might not be might lose their accreditation. The PANCE pass rate. So the PANCE is the big exam at the end of PA school that you will take. That is the entrance exam to make sure that you will finally get your license. So obviously, if the school has almost 100% PANCE pass rate, that means their curriculum is pretty good, and you have a better chance if you work hard enough to get your license and pass. If it's something where it's like 80%, that's a lot lower. That intimidates me. So I'm not going to be looking at schools like that. Not trying to push my agenda on you guys, but I'm just letting you know what I am looking for. All right, so then finally, support. So I like to have support where I go. Some people are very independent, and if they get a set of slides, that's all they need, and they'll pass the class. I like to have the option that there might be office hours or something else that can help me if I potentially fail an exam or something. The other thing that you want to look at is what happens if you do fail an exam. Every school is different. Will you be kicked out if you fail one exam, or will you have to do extra work to make up for that failed exam, and then you can stay on track? All right. So CASPA, okay, finally got to it. So CASPA opens at the end of April. This is rolling admissions. So as I was saying before, with the spreadsheet of all your experiences, that spreadsheet, you're basically going to take all that information and put it into the CASPA file. CASPA is rolling admissions, so I suggest that you prepare everything, like your personal statement, you have your letters of rec, you have everything set before that day opens, and then once it opens, it doesn't have to be that exact day, but soon once it opens, you transfer all that information into your CASPA, and then you get it sent off as soon as possible. The CASPA is expensive, so you're going to have to send in your GRE scores if you take them and other stuff, but you want to make sure that you condense how many schools you are applying to. Typically, people tend to apply to like 5 to 7 or something because PA school is very challenging to get into, but also it's very expensive. So you want to make sure that wherever you apply, you're okay with going, because out of the 7 schools you apply to, you only may get in an interview for like 3 of them, and then out of those 3 you might only get accepted into 1. So you want to have all of your schools be schools that you're interested in and that you're okay with going to. So prior work to CASPA is very important. And the other thing, of course, you want to read through each school's admissions requirements very carefully, because every school is different, so make sure you read that. There are some schools that ask you to apply through CASPA and through their school, so you have to be careful of that. And then just like with college, with undergrad, some schools do have supplemental essays. So you're going to have to write like a short essay about answering one of those questions. This is where your list of meaningful experiences, again, that spreadsheet, that will come in handy because you can easily pull information from your past to answer those questions. All right. So after you submit your CASPA, pat yourself on the back, huge sigh of relief, now you got an interview. So congratulations, because that's amazing. I'm very proud of you. For an interview, you want to do a lot of prep work. You want to do mock interviews with people. You want to stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. You don't want to memorize information. You want to be prepared for speaking with new people and talking about yourself and getting outside your comfort zone. They want to know why you want to be here, what sets you apart. They also, I'm just gonna slip ahead. Did I say that? Okay, all right, I do get into that later, sorry. One of the main questions that they will probably ask you is why this school? So you want to do research in advance. Why this university? Why this school? They always look for, if you know what their mission statement is. The mission statement is a huge part of that university school, and it's a huge reason why they have a PA program. So if you can relate somehow to that mission statement and talk about why you feel that it fits best with you, that would be something that would make you stand out. So I recommend doing that. One of the most common mistakes is that, and this goes on the personal statement too, it is physician assistant. There's no S at the end. Again, just going back to Campbell, my friend goes there, and so she has talked to admissions counselors, and she said, if I read a personal statement where it says physician assistants, she'll just throw it out. She won't even look at it. She won't even read the essay. So make sure that you do not put an S at the end of physician assistant, okay? And then you also want to talk positively about other careers, because they're going to ask you again, why PA? You don't want to drag other people through the dirt, other career paths, because you're, at the end of the day, you're part of their team too. You're going to be working alongside them. You don't want to trash their careers. You want to show that you respect them as well, and it might not be the best fit for you, but there's nothing wrong with that job. All right, day of the interview. You want to dress very professionally. You want to bring copies of your resume and any other materials that you might have. You want to get there a little early and turn off your phone, like calm down, sit in your car, maybe listen to a nice song or something, get you in the mood. You want to smile and be polite. You want to shake their hand. It's very good to be excited, but not so much that you're talking all the time and that you're annoying, basically. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. That's very true. And then I'll go through some of the interview activities that they have you do. All right. So these are just some common ones. They originally, I don't know what order, but one of the things they'll have you do is one-on-one multiple mini interviews. So what this is it's 6 individual interviews, and you get handed a card with a question. And so you read a scenario basically, and then they're gonna ask you how you would react. There's not always a right answer to the situation. It's kind of like with the Casper, how Caroline was talking about that earlier, how you're handed a situation, it's more of an ethical thing. So what you can do, and what I advise that you do, is you read the situation, put it down, take a few minutes, think about your answer. You don't have to jump an answer right away. You might be anxious, so you're like, oh, I need to spit out an answer. But it's better to collect your thoughts, think of a well-rounded answer, and like a genuine, true answer that you believe to be correct. And then you give your answer. I have the bar at the bottom of the screen, so I can't see exactly what I wrote on the last bullet point. But I think that they give you 6 or 7 minutes per interview to give your final answer. So you do have time. Don't stress about time. The other thing that they do is they have a group activity, and their main goal is just to try to see if you work well with others. You want to show that you're a leader, but you also don't want to be overbearing and you don't want to take control of everything. You want to be a team player. All right, so at the end of the interview, they're going to ask you if you have any questions. Be prepared to go with questions. It doesn't have to be like, it shouldn't be something that a simple Google search could answer for you. You want to do your research and have questions in advance, and you want to make it specific to that program and that school, and you want to show that you are very interested in them and not just having it be one-sided. All right. So after the interview, you want to say goodbye and thank them for their time, shake hands again. Then, then you're done. So you can collect your thoughts, relax, celebrate your accomplishments, and then you can obviously reflect on your performance. As a follow-up, you want to write them a physical letter just saying, thank you for considering me. And then after about 3 weeks, if you haven't heard anything from that school, you can call to inquire about the status. If a program doesn't want you, you don't have to go there. Don't go to a place where your strengths aren't highlighted. You're not just a number, you are a person, and you've done so much work up until this point that you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself for even making it to the interview. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment, I promise you. Not everyone gets to that point, and so be proud of yourself for that. All right. Oh, I've been talking a lot. Okay. So for PA school, once you get in, congratulations. So this is more like the few months leading up to PA school. They always advise you do not do anything for PA school, because once you are in PA school, that's all you are. You're only in PA school because you're studying literally all day for your exams, because there's just so much content. So honestly, just take the time before PA school and go out with your friends and family, make new memories, just enjoy life. If you are like me though, and you just have to do something, there are some things that you can do. One book that has been highly recommended to me is Sparks an Illustrated Guide to ECG Interpretation. I haven't looked at it yet, but my friends have said that it's very helpful in doing so. You can also get like a coloring book and start coloring different parts of the body and stuff like that. So once you are in PA school, things are definitely going to change. The way you have studied in undergrad and the way you're going to study in PA school will totally be different. You can't just cram the night before for an exam in PA school like you could possibly do in undergrad. Just everything's going to change. And so you just have to be open-minded, because not everything's going to be the same. Also, I don't know about every school, but many schools have like support systems in which all the students share their information and share their charts that they made and stuff like that, so that they can form study groups and everyone can share resources and study together and help each other along. All right. The other thing that people do is exercise. Obviously helps the brain. It makes blood flow happen faster, and so walking and talking while studying helps. If you have fake cases that you can make up while you're trying to prepare for this exam, that would help, because obviously you don't know what's going to be on the exam and you want to try to prepare yourself in different ways. PA school, it's going to be very hard. I'm nervous for it. I'm sure you guys are nervous for it. You're going to fall into pit holes and stuff like that, but it'll be okay. And there are so many resources that can help you. Burnout is definitely a thing. So even in the interview, they're probably going to ask you, what will you do when you have burnout? So just make sure that you go into PA school accepting the fact that things will be hard and that you won't want to do it. But also come prepared with facts or with things that will make you happy and that will give you a little downtime. Someone that I know, she always lets herself have 8 hours at night. she doesn't necessarily sleep for those 8 hours, but she turns her brain off for 8 hours. So whether that's watching videos on YouTube or taking a bath or just listening to music, she always has those 8 hours so that she can take time for herself and calm herself down. All right, so this I'm not going to go through, but there's some resources that I've gathered that are very helpful. Um, for me, I have an iPad, and I've been told that iPads really help just because you can write on the slides and take your own notes. And um, I recently just got an Apple Pencil too, and that honestly has been amazing because it makes my notes so much neater, and I like everything very precise so that when I go back to study, I'm like calm and I'm okay looking at it like a million times. Um, all right, so additional information. This is the last section. I'm almost done. All right, so this is the timeline. So as I said, every school is different, but this is the best way that I could think of that would make sense to you. So if I'm going to say this so that if you're directly going from undergrad to PA school, okay? So as a junior, in January, you're going to start asking for your letters of recommendation, begin studying for the GRE if you're taking it, begin writing your personal statement, and make a list of schools that you're applying to. All right, so this is as a junior if you're going directly into PA school. So it's a year and a half away from when you would actually start. Then in April, that's when the CASPA opens. Remember to read the fine print because, like I said, you might have to apply through CASPA and also through the school itself. And since it is rolling admissions, you want to submit it as early as you can. Then in July through this December, that's when the interviews will start. There's no specific time. Every school is different, and you just have to pay attention and keep a running list of when things are happening. Then May through August is when most programs begin. This is very different for many different schools. Like I know UNC, they start in January, I'm pretty sure. So you just have to, again, read through the different schools and everything. If you have other questions for me aside from all that information, because I know more than what I've told you guys, but I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. But anyway, here are just some other things that I have tips on if you want to ask me questions about them. And then, okay, this other little thing. Imposter syndrome is real in PA school. Like, it's going to be very hard. You're going to think that you don't belong because it's so challenging, but you don't have to be the smartest. You just have to be the PA who cares and who wants to work hard for other people and whose heart is in this for the patients. You just want to be willing to learn and be open to new ideas and go above and beyond for those other patients, the ones who don't really have a voice in medicine or as much as they should. If you do that, you're going to be fine. Those are the PAs who stand out and who will get hired. And if it ever you need time just to vent or just, I don't know what else, but you can reach out for support to your friends, families, colleagues, me if you want. There are many PAs on Instagram, even like those influencers. They would be more than happy to talk with you about the struggle of PA school because they've been there too. They know what's going on. But the bottom line is take care of yourself. If you need to walk away for 20 minutes, so walk away for 20 minutes. There's no problem with that. Just take care of yourself and know that this is what you want to do and that you belong. All right. So I swear there are only 2 slides left. So the Instagram, you're going to want to follow this for shadowing opportunities, updates on our pre-PA meetings, and nursing. I should have written that. My apologies. And yes, there are so many people out there that want to help you on your journey. So please follow the Instagram and you'll stay updated. If you want to reach out to me, this is my email. I put my Instagram there in case you want to DM me. I don't know, whatever's easier for you guys. But let me know if I can help you with any questions or if you have any suggestions for future meetings. And then I just thought this quote was really nice. It says, "Don't stop. One day you'll be someone's hope, someone's hero." And I just thought that was a really sweet quote, especially to end like the PA presentation with. All right. So now that I've been talking for what feels like 4 days, um, does anyone else have anything else to say before I'll stop sharing this now? Okay. Anyone have questions? Or if like Caroline or Keely or Alex, you want to join in and say anything, go for it.
No, I think you summed everything up really good. Obviously, if anyone has any questions about specifics, you can ask now or email any of us. But yeah, I think you summed up everything really well.
Yeah, I think it was a good layout. I really had nothing, like maybe just to remind people, like this is not a perfect system that they look at. So it's like a holistic view of your life. I think that like I personally used to do this, like I would really hone in on like my grades, not stress myself out. Like if one class was not your favorite, like organic chemistry or physics or something, there are other things a part of your application. So like you don't have to be perfect. It's just take it all in stride and it'll be okay.
Yeah, and I know this was a lot of information, which is why I wrote everything down, so that you could get this initial exposure and then go back into the actual PowerPoint and then think about like what I said more. Because I know for me, it would be so overwhelming to have all this information just thrown at you. Um, so I hope that by sharing this PowerPoint with you, it'll calm you down a little bit eventually, because you're probably anxious right now, and my apologies for that. But if I can help with anything, please let me know. If anyone has any questions, you're free to ask. If not, I'll just talk about the upcoming meetings we have, and then we can be done.
I had a question. It's more of a general question, and for all of you, I guess. I and I think for people who are just starting on the pre-PA path, what do you guys suggest be the best patient clinical experience that a student pre-PA student could do while taking classes? So something that could be done part-time. I know that certain certifications, require you to go through some studying and are longer time commitments. But if there's anything that you have a suggestion for to do part-time while taking classes.
um, I'll go ahead and I'm obviously biased because I am a scribe, but medical scribing has been like life changing for me. And the company that I work for, you only have to do a minimum of 2 hours a week. I mean, sorry, 2 shifts a week. And the shifts are lengthy. They're 8 to 9 to 10 hours because you're just doing the ED provider shifts. But I've made it manageable in school, and I definitely think that anybody else would be able to too. And it's just a really, really great experience to not only like interact with patients and see that side of it, but also like learn everything from the physician or PA that you're working with. They're kind of like your mentor and they get to know you and like personally invest in you. And so I think that medical scribing is great. You also don't have to like go get certified or anything. You just have to, there's a few prerequisites that if you're on the PA route, you're already taking them. So as long as you're in like, let's say a sophomore or a junior and you've already taken anatomy and phys, medical term, whatever, then you can apply for the job and you don't have to go get more certification or training or anything. So I obviously recommend medical scribing, but Kaitlyn, you might say medical assistant.
Um, so medical assistant for me was the best thing that ever happened to me. But the thing with medical assistants is if you're not certified, which you don't have to be certified in North Carolina to be a medical assistant, it can be difficult to find a job. One thing I will say, and this goes out for everyone, um, I was recently contacted yesterday, I think, by a woman who knows that I'm the president of the PA club, and she said that she might have openings in her office for like someone in our club to be a medical assistant. Um, when that happens, I'm going to send out an email, and probably whoever replies first will get the position, but being in this club is going to help you because I have some connections, so I'm going to try my best to help you guys out too. Um, but yes, before I was a medical assistant, I was a CNA, and that is certified. You need a certification for it. The certification was not hard to get at all, but it did take time. And if you're in school, it's difficult. Also, they don't have any classes right now because of COVID, so that can be a challenge. But through being a medical assistant, you do learn a lot because you're hands-on and you're with patients and you're doing things that you wouldn't thought you would do. Like I get to assist in surgeries. Like I never thought that I would be able to do that. But I don't think that there's one right path. Um, Also, if you could even just volunteer right now, that would be good because of COVID. Um, but Alex, you might be able to talk on this, but I also think that the habilitation tech would be a good position to try to do because I know that's just like you don't need to be certified, but it's basically the same thing as a CNA.
Yeah, it's really easy. It requires like virtually no training. They'll tell you how to do everything, and it's a good way to. It worked on my communication skills and made me a more patient person. Maybe I'm now able to process what people say better and try to figure out a solution. It does help your problem solving skills. So I would say it's actually a really great job to have, especially when you're just starting out with patient care before you get into like more hands-on or medical activities. But yeah, I would recommend, yeah, and Maxim Healthcare is the one that really employs everybody. So if you're interested, send me an email. I can hook you up.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we all have like our niche area. I always, if like, because sometimes you can get a lot of hours with these positions, but sometimes like if you're not doing the full time, it's like harder if you're especially trying to support yourself. But a way to like always get hours is to try and volunteer like whenever possible. It's just like that it doesn't seem like much. It's like only a few hours a week, but just that little bit like chipping away each week consistently. And then obviously you can add more hours if you need to. Um, you don't need any certifications or anything. Like it's something, and trust me, it'll make a difference. And before you know it, you'll have a bunch of hours and you don't even realize that the time went. It can be kind of hard to find those positions right now. But also volunteering is volunteering. Even sometimes if it doesn't count towards your patient care hours, it still looks good on a resume and shows that you were putting in effort. And it's something that you can talk about if you find a position that you really enjoy. Like if you like nutrition, volunteer at a food bank, that's still something to talk about, you know?
And just to go off the volunteering a little bit, if you volunteer, say at a hospital or something, the workers there are going to get to know you. So they might ask you to do a certain task. Like they'll trust you and
Yeah.
then they might bring you on as like an actual employee.
Yeah. Like I know one of my volunteer positions, it's a very secluded area of the hospital, and they essentially only hire within. So the volunteers were the first to get the email when a position opened up. Like it's a very small team, and like they wanted to hire the people that work with them every single week. So like even though it seems like you're just volunteering, like they do value the positions and the effort that's put in. So yeah,
I
anything
guess
is
to
good.
sum up the question, I think we all have such different, like she said, we're all in our own niches, and like we all have a different job and all love it and think it's the best. So I just say like whatever opportunity comes your way and whatever you're able to get an opportunity in, just make the most of it and make those connections and the relationships, and I'm sure it'll be amazing for you.
Are there any other questions at the moment?
I have a question. So I never really understood like how far to go back with putting like volunteer hours or work hours like on or wherever like your application when the time comes, because I'm like at the point where I'm back at NC State now finishing up my bachelor's because I already got like most of my patient contact hours because I worked at Duke for a while. But I was thinking back to like high school when I did volunteering. But for me, I graduated high school in 2016. So I was like, how far do you go back to put your volunteer hours or, things like that?
Yeah, good question. So I would say high school is fine. I wouldn't really go further back than high school unless it was something that you continued throughout high school and possibly college. But it doesn't matter that you graduated high school in 2016. They're going to look at everything. And if it's something that they don't like, or they don't, not that they don't like, that they don't think is relevant, they just won't read that part basically. Um, but you want to include everything that you possibly can because you want to have the strongest application that you can. So I would say write everything down.
I would also say if you have questions, call the school and ask.
Yeah.
Usually they'll pick up and usually somebody will be able to give you some sort of answer. I know that like with prerequisites, like say you took chemistry like 8 years ago, I think there's a deadline to like when they would accept that. So there might be a similar deadline for patient care hours, but just call and ask. I mean, the worst they're gonna say is we can't answer your question.
Yeah, I agree with that because some schools I feel like are so distinct on what they want and they're very picky. I do kind of distinctly remember, I can't place my finger on which school it is. I've listened to like a lot of their speeches, but I remember like at least one school administrator, like he said, absolutely no high school. But then others say, yeah, like you did it, it counts. So it's back to it's dependent on the school. If you really like it and you think that you want to go to that university, just call them or email them. They want to answer your questions.
All right. So since it is 8 o'clock, I'm just going to do a little wrap up thing and then I'll be happy to stay on for whoever if they have questions. Um, I want to talk about the next two meetings that we have. So the next meeting that we have is actually in a week. Um, it was our first official plan meeting, but remember the deadline switch, like the start of school switch. So that's why we had this meeting. Campbell University is coming to speak. I'm very excited for them to come talk with us. So if you have any questions for them specifically, the representatives can answer that for you. They're very open and love talking about their school. So that will be next Tuesday at 7. Additionally, I have been working with Jada, who was the PA president last year. She currently attends Campbell University and is a PA student. And I've been working with James, who you will meet next week because I believe he is coming to speak, who graduated from Campbell University and is practicing PEDS PA. And so the three of us are trying to coordinate an event where all of us pre-PAs, current PA students, and current practicing PAs are going to try to have one Zoom call. And during the Zoom call, we're going to go into breakout rooms so that you can make connections and ask questions and anything that you have and that you want to talk about, just kind of like a social event, you know? That will be, I believe it is March 8th. It is a Monday. So that's the only Monday meeting we have. But that will also be at 7 p.m. So I'm going to send email reminders, but just so you know, those two are important in my mind. So a week from today at 7 p.m. and then also March 8th, I believe is the date. All right. And with that, you guys are free to go. But if anyone has any questions, I'm going to stick around for a little while. So thank you very much for coming to the meeting. I appreciate it.
So really helpful.
Good, I'm glad. Hope it wasn't too overwhelming.
Oh no, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I came a little late. I had something that came up, but I paid my club dues last semester for the pre-health club and the pre-PA club. So I was wondering if I was supposed to pay for both or if I was just supposed to pay for one.
So you only need to pay for one, and